Okay, fair warning, I record all of our lectures, so I've already started recording. A quick recap of what I've already announced. Let me head back into student view. So for tonight, we're going to be working on photoshopping for gold and selection and masking methods exercise. I've also written them up on the board. And so each class, when you guys come in, you guys should be able to see the files and the exercises that I have ready for you. Photoshopping for gold is only one file, but in the selection and masking methods, there are actually 3 files here for you. Do you guys see that there's 3 different ones? Oh. So there's one that is exercise, and then there is another one. So on my screen, I just wanted to review that if you click this file folder down here, it's an Explorer menu. You won't see it on my screen, but you should be able to see it on yours. If you click on this PC, down here at the bottom, it will have network locations, and each one of you should have a folder on our network that has your same My Page login. And remember, the benefit to using this folder is that no matter where you sit, in either lab, even across the hall, that folder will always be there for you. If you are saving on the desktop here in the lab, David one day unannounced might come and wipe our computers because we have so many students using them, downloading stuff kind of haphazardly. We lose space on those computers. Anybody else not see? Guys okay?
Add student home drive or?
Nope, so I'm sorry that you can't see it here, but on your page, for example, my username is nnawabi. You should see a drive that says nnawabi or similar. Do you see your username there?
Yeah.
Okay, so as long as you see your username, that will be your drive that you can use. Okay, which ones I want for you might get a couple extra, but the 4 that you need should be there now. So again, the way that I like to do it, instead of clicking on it and having it go to downloads, I like to right click and go to save link as, save target as. Depending on your browser, it might be slightly different. But then I come and I put it right in that folder so that everything is organized by day. My eye starts to twitch a little bit when students have me help them look for their files and it's all in one folder, or it's not in a folder and it's like final 1, final 2, final 3, final. So I'm going to help you guys hopefully try to be a little bit more organized. When you're ready to let me know that you are ready to go, I would like you guys to have the photoshopping for gold open. And it means that you're ready when you have all of the files downloaded from today. So essentially, I'm just going to be looking for this blank white screen open in Photoshop. So for tonight's class, I'm going to be throwing a lot of terms and keyboard shortcuts at you guys. And one thing that you have to help me with is that when I work in these programs, I kind of see them as a different language. And it's a different language that I've learned to speak fluently. So if I'm moving too fast or if there's something that's not clear, please yell at me, because even though that these are concepts that we're going to be going over time and time again, I really want to make sure that you guys are comfortable. I'm here for you, so you guys let me know how things are going. So for our first kind of assignment that we're going to do, before we get into this one, I wanted to quickly talk about file organization, and then we're going to hop into this one so it's clear that you guys know where we're going. I hope that you guys can go into Open Recent and see the Photoshop file example from last class. So it's this one right here, and it's the Photoshop example. And I should have put this back in the folder for you guys so you had it ready to go. If you don't have it there, what I can do is pause the lecture and wait for you guys to go grab it. Let me show you again where you can find it. If you go to File, open recent, and I had it was further down, but now that I just recently opened it, it went back on top. Right, now I can see this aisle here has it. How about you guys on my ends? You guys good? I feel like a flight attendant. Okay. All right. So what I wanted to show with this file right here is talk a little bit about layer organization. And again, we're going to come back and forth here quite a bit. So in Photoshop, let's test one thing real quick before I get too far. Last week, we learned how to go from, let me do Essentials default, and let me reset Essentials. I'm going to do this one more time because a lot of you guys haven't had a chance to download Photoshop yet. And so I wanted to teach you guys how to reset your workspace. So again, when you're at home, you can also make your screen look like what we have at school. And so first, I like to get rid of the Learn and Libraries tab. So again, I click on the name, drag it out, and then just close it. And then after that, what I also like to do, this arrow up here collapses the menu. I just like to have as much real estate as possible to start. Then as we go on through the semester and we start working with more of these menus, then we'll kind of expand it. And again, within a few weeks or so, as you guys feel comfortable, if there's a workspace setting that you like, do you guys remember where to go to save it? Which one of these menus? I'll give you a hint. Yep, you go up to Window, and then after there, it's in the first four. Where do you think you'd go after that? Workspace. Good. Workspace, and then you can come down to New Workspace, and essentially what that does is it saves it. I'm not going to save this one because I've already saved it under, so I'm going to reset the Essentials one more time. So when I'm here at Essentials, the thing that's nice is I can go to Window, Workspace, and change it to NIMATH 1350, and it takes me back to these menus. So if you want to save this in case you get comfortable with it and you want this to become your regular workspace, you can go ahead and save it now. So again, Window, Workspace, New Workspace. All right. And we are going to start today in the Layer menu right here. So on my screen, it's 5 down, but again, you may have moved your layers around. So find Layers over on the right side. And what I'd ask you to do is take your mouse, hopefully you see my mouse dancing right here, bring it down to where you see kind of a darker line until you see an up and down double-headed arrow, and pull this down for me. So we typically start working with a lot of layers, and so I like to see as much of the layers as possible. Okay. One of the reasons why I like working in a collapsed view is if you have a lot of these menus open, see how personally I think your layers get lost. And I work with layers all the time. But if I keep this collapsed and I click on layers, I have a lot of room off to the side. And then when I'm done with layers, I can tuck them away and then pull out the other thing. So please remember, I'm just showing you guys how I work with Photoshop, and then eventually you guys can kind of branch out and see what you're comfortable with. Okay? All right. So one thing that I wanted to point out about layers, and this is something that's really basic, is basically everything that's on top of this list is the most forward thing. And then everything behind it falls further back in line. So if these layers were actual physical pieces of paper or planes or boards, the Slcc logo would be right here. Standing behind it would be the favorite teacher. Standing behind that would be the professional outfit. And then the very back thing is what's called the background. Okay? So if you wanted to move, I don't know why we would do this, but if you wanted to take the, let's grab the Slcc logo. Oh, before I get too far, what was the keyboard shortcut of where we want to be 95% of the time in Photoshop? V, good. So it's almost go Utes, but it's like, yeah, it's V. So it stands for move. let's take SLCC and put it kind of right on top of my outfit. We're not going to worry about that, where it goes too much. But what I want you guys to see is if you come over here to what's called your layer manager, grab SLC logo and just put it behind favorite teacher. And did that do anything? Oh, at least on my screen. If I were to move it up by my face, can you see what it did there? So now I hope you guys can see that my face, SLCC logo, and professional outfit, it's kind of sandwiched between those. This is kind of giving away the fact, never mind what reality I live in, but this is giving away the fact that I've really photoshopped my head on top of this body. So if I wanted to pull it back one more, then it goes back even further. So in a quick nutshell, as you're kind of dragging things up and down, top of the list means what? Back or front? Front. Bottom of the list, back or front? Back. Good. So front is always, top is front, and then bottom of the list is back. The other thing that I also wanted to show you guys here are these little eyeballs. So these turn layers on or off, and sometimes it's referred to layer visibility too. So when I say on or off, that's easier for me to say than make your layer visible or invisible. Okay, so with these eyeballs, if you turn them off, you're not deleting them. Do you see that they don't go away? Okay. Here's the funny thing about this. Let me turn these back on. So right now, what layer am I on? Like what layer is selected and active? Favorite teacher. So that's my floating head, right? If I turn off favorite teacher and everything else, so see how I'm in the move command? I can try to move this head, but without it being on, I can't move it. So this is a nice feature because in the past, even when things were off, when it was active, so right now it's active but it's not on, you could still move it. So you do a lot of stuff by accident, like pull something. So even though this outfit, pretend this is invisible, you'd accidentally move something out here trying to find it. Okay? Luckily, you can't do that now. Something has to be visible in order for you to move it. Everybody with me so far? Okay. I think this stuff is straightforward, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but remember, you guys let me know how things are going. Here's another thing that I wanted to teach you guys about file organization. So right now, my head and the body are having a hard time staying together. Like I'm looking at Alex's screen and he's totally ditched my face. He's just hanging out with the other instructor. So one thing you can do to help keep layers together that belong together, the first thing you can do is group them. So I want you guys to try and group some layers for me. Do you guys see this little folder down here? You see that? So let's click on that and it makes something called group 1. So imagine if you guys have a folder, what we want to do is put stuff in it. And the way that we put stuff in it is I'm going to click on favorite teacher and it's as simple as a drag and drop. Do you see how when I click and hold, when I come on top of group 1, do you see how it highlights in kind of like a cyan blue color? When I drop it, it's so subtle, but do you see that this is indented now where before it wasn't? So look again, here's professional outfit out here, but when I drag it up here to group 1 and let go, now it's indented. So try that for me, and then in addition to that, within the group, fix them so my face comes back on top. I want to check. Good, so now that we've got these two moved in here, the other thing that I wanted to show you how to do is rename stuff. Don't give your layers generic names because eventually we'll have so many layers and I don't want you clicking around trying to figure out the difference between layer 9, 8, and 17. So group 1, if it's Naima, double click on the name. here's the thing. I want you guys to watch this. I'm going to click off of it. You guys can kind of hear it with my mouse. Double click. Oops, I did it wrong. Double click, and as soon as it highlights blue, start typing. You don't have to hit backspace. You don't have to move your mouse. You don't have to do anything like that. Don't know why my caps lock isn't working. There we go. Okay. The other thing that you can do under favorite teacher, double click on that one and make that Naima face. So please, please get into the habit of naming your groups, and then bless you, and then also naming your layers too. The thing about a group is that you can either, this is called collapsed, so you don't see all the layers. So if you have like a million layers in something, you can collapse it, kind of pull it down like that. And then once, so even though it's in a group, they're not moving together. That's in order to make things move together, what you'd want to do is link the layers. And in fact, I'm going to hold off on that. We're going to be linking stuff a little bit later. But, you know, I'll just show you guys real quick. So if you hold the Shift key down, it lets you highlight more than one layer at once. Okay, so click on one, Shift, click on the other. And then down here, you should be able to link them. Do you see where it says link layers? I think that's the easiest way, or you can right click, and right now mine says unlink, but you can also right click and go to link, but I think this is easier. Okay, back to the lecture. So I just threw a lot of stuff at you, and I know it's late at night, so I just want to make sure you got it. Do you guys know how to move layers around? Do you know how to rename layers? Do you know how to put them in a group? Okay. Do you know how to link them? Okay. What was the button you held on your keyboard before you clicked? Thank you. That's like psychic. I love it. Okay, good. Thank you guys. Yes, Shift is where we're going with that one. And then again, once they're linked, then those things will move together. We'll leave it at that. Okay, that was just a quick intro that I wanted to go into.
So,
yeah.
even if you move your face in the back, you still would move together.
Yeah, it should. So if I take my face and move it back here, I don't know why you'd want to move it, but let me move it all the way up here like this. And now let me practice. Name my face. Yep, there it is.
How do you get stuff out of the grouping?
What you drag it out. So basically drag it out anywhere outside of it. So like if I accidentally dropped the logo in here and the logo started moving around. Oh, but I didn't link it. Okay, so you can get it out, but it's not linked yet. But that's how you'd pull it out. Okay, basic file organization. And now we're gonna do something completely different. Let's go to photoshopping for gold. Everybody, this next stuff that the masking and selection exercises, selection and masking methods, this is the most important thing that I'm going to teach you. So these next two classes, if these don't make sense, just stick with me until they make sense, because everything we do from now on will depend on how you select things and how you mask things, okay? So before we even get into photoshopping for gold, I'm gonna kind of pantomime some stuff and run around the classroom and try to just explain the concept of what we're about to learn, because it's completely abstract, but I think if you have a background idea of what we're about to do, it will make life so much easier, okay? So what I want you guys to imagine is a photo album that my mom brought from Kabul, Afghanistan with her. It's super precious and priceless to me. And it was one of the things that she kind of snuck out of the country. She put all of our pictures in diapers, wrapped them up, and put them in a photo album. I love them. But then when I was like 8 or 9 years old, the stinking scrapbooking thing became popular. And my mom took original pictures and cut them with scissors. And so there's like floating head pictures. And my mom, I love her, but she's no Martha Stewart. She was not creative. And she kind of ruined some pictures. The point that I'm trying to make here is that when we are working in Photoshop, a lot of people want to take an image. So let's say that you have, I'm going to use this for example right here. You find this image online. Okay, it's a good looking building. I love the galaxy background. But let's say that your client says, I need to see this during the day. And you want to isolate this building here. Don't isolate it and then delete the pixels. Don't hit delete, don't clear it. What we're doing instead is doing something called masking, okay? And the concept of masking has to do with layers and essentially layer controls, okay? So again, I'm just Vanna Whiting this. So in Photoshop, the most basic thing that I can tell you is that, again, masking we're going to do several different ways, but the most basic way of using it is to isolate an object, okay? So masking at its most basic thing is used to what an object? Isolate. We isolate instead of erasing, okay? We do not want to destroy pixels. Do not be Naima's mom. Don't destroy anything, okay? So what we're doing here, in Photoshop, you can create what's called a layer mask. If you look down at the bottom of your layer menu, don't click on it because I've already made one for you. To me, I just tell somebody, I always describe it as a black and white version of the mask of the flag of Japan. It's a rectangle with a circle on it, okay? That's a layer mask. The most rudimentary thing a layer mask does is you put it on a layer and anything that is the color black is cloaked out of visibility, okay? Anything that's white, that's painted over white, you can see. So a mask only has two colors. What two colors does a mask have? Black and white, that's it. So mask, black, white. I said it really quickly. Which one is visible, black or white?
White.
Sorry, which one is invisible?
Invisible or visible?
Invisible. Which one can you not? So if you painted a layer this color, we would be invisible. Black. Good. So black to me is the cloak of invisibility. Any Harry Potter people in here? Okay, turning back around. All right, so black is your cloak of invisibility. White, visible. This is the most basic concept right here. The reason why it gets a little bit tricky is that there are countless ways to make something black and make something white. If you guys have used, I know that most of you guys have never used Photoshop before, but when you're on a computer, everybody here has probably used like a brush tool or a paint tool, right? That's one way you could turn something black or white. The problem with that though is it's kind of tricky to go through and try to trace something with a brush. Have you guys ever tried to do a signature on a computer or even like at a checkout? Does it look like your signature? No. So that's why the brush tool isn't the best way of doing it. Quick side note, any Microsoft Surface Pro people or iPad Pro people with a stylus, okay, you guys can bring your toys to class. I use my computer and my iPad side by side. So I will go through and I will mask stuff on my iPad because it's easier. I've taught my kids how to do it, and then I can open it up in here. It's great. So not perfect still, but it's getting better. So again, the problem isn't that people don't understand black or white. It's just a matter of what is the easiest and best way to select things to make it black and white, all right? So what we're going to be doing tonight, the first thing that we're going to do, the photoshopping for gold, is the most basic way. We're going to use the brush. We're going to paint our mask. What color to start looking for gold? White. This is the part where I'm going to throw a whole bunch of shortcuts at you. I'm going to write them up on the board so that you guys don't miss any of them. So the first thing, I said, what tool are we going to use? Paintbrush. The shortcut for paintbrush is B. So from here on out, I'm just going to call it the brush. So everybody, you can move away from V for a minute. Press B for me. And take a look at your tools on this side. Do you guys see now we have a brush right here? Okay. By default, you've got two colors in Photoshop, black and white. Hit the X key for me and tell me what's happening to your color palette. It's toggling. So the color on the front is the color that you're working with. So right now, am I working in black or white? Now? Good. So you're going to toggle back and forth between black and white. What color do we want to be in to search for gold? Right now we want to be in white, and I know that might be hard to see because do you guys see? I don't even expect you to see this because you've never seen it. Layer 1 has a mask on it. Okay? So let me cheat. No, I'm not going to cheat. We're not going to cheat. Layer 1 has a mask on it. Everybody click on the mask, which is the rectangular black part. Okay? We don't want to erase the gold that's there. So check to see that you've highlighted layer 1 where it's black. And then the next thing that I want you guys to do after you've hit B for brush, oh, hang on, let me find out. There's a couple shortcuts that are different. Do this for me. Right click for me and make your brush size about 50 pixels and hardness 100%. And again, I got here by right clicking while I was in the brush command. There's a shortcut to make your brush size bigger and smaller, and I thought it was the brackets, but it's not working, so I'm going to play with that one. So everybody good with their brush? Okay, I'll give you a hint. Come to the very center and just start painting white or make big loops. Oh, I moved layer 2. Do you guys start seeing stuff? Okay, I'm going to start gambling addictions. This is like a digital scratcher card. Come on, big money. How much gold are you going to find? Okay, yep. Let me pause the lecture. Recording. So I'm going to come back to Photoshop and hit slash. Okay, so if you hit slash, what it's doing now, so over here, this tiny little thing is a preview of your mask. And that's really hard. I mean, even on mine, you can see that there's a couple white blobs of what I've essentially made visible. For me, that's really hard to see. So I often will hit this slash so I can really see what's been masked and what's been unmasked. Okay, let me write those up here. So we've got B for brush, slash, shows mask. Okay, this next question is really important. When you are trying to work with your mask, on your layers, should you be clicked on the image or on the mask? The mask. How can you graphically tell you have the mask selected? Yeah, just though it's really, really subtle. And these are things that it will take time for you guys to learn, but I want you to start noticing starting tonight. So just these little brackets here let you know which layer is active.
Yeah, it also switches between the black and white.
So you can do, there's a way to reverse your mask. I'm going to tell you guys that a little bit later. That's not a shortcut for tonight. So put it in your back pocket, save it. All right, so how many pieces of gold did y'all find? Let me, 7, let me, 1, 2, 3, what, I totally cheated. Yeah, but 7, okay. So they're my kind of gold bricks that I like, but yes, 7. So this, again, was just a really quick exercise to introduce you to masking. I am under the assumption that nobody here has ever masked before and that this is their first time. With that exercise, do you guys understand the general concept of what a mask is and what it'll be doing for us? I hope so, okay? We'll stick with that one for now. Then we're gonna go on to the next part. So the next part, we're still going to be masking. But now, yeah.
You say the masking is to isolate but not to delete. How do we put it back?
So to put it back, I'm going to let you answer it. So white brought it back. What color could you switch to? Yeah, so if you change, so that was a great question. So Abdurrahman just asked, okay, how do we bring stuff back? And this will be a big part of tonight because right now you're just trying to find gold, where in a minute you're going to be trying to isolate objects. So if you accidentally get rid of something, use the color white to bring it back. Okay? Let's do this. Go ahead and open the file chucks. Okay? I'll meet you guys here. Okay, everybody got the Chuck's file okay? I think you guys did. So remember, the people on my end, you guys let me know. I can see the aisle, but that's it. All right, I'm coming back to our giant model right here. I'm going to let you guys know what we're about to do. What we're about to do is use some selection methods. I didn't write all of them up here, but if you look at your layers in the Chuck's file, you'll see that I've listed them there. So W is the keyboard shortcut, and there's a quick selection. There's another W, that's the magic wand. Do you guys see that? I've listed them there. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of them right now, but I'm just going to kind of give you a future glimpse. What these selection tools do is they all, in their own way, allow you to somewhat quickly go through and highlight around an object, okay? They're trying to help you so you don't have to try to figure it out on your own. They're analyzing pixels, they're analyzing shapes, color, to try and quickly select things. Some of these tools work better than others, and sometimes it's an individual preference. There's things that I love that other people don't love. But in a nutshell, what it's going to do is select around an object, okay? Let's go back to that idea of, okay, I need to select this object right here. After I select it, what do I need to do? I need to mask it, right? And so let's just try that concept really quickly. And in fact, before we do it on the Chuck's file, come back to Photoshopping for Gold with me, okay? And do you see how we already have this layer mask on here? Okay, we've already done our scratcher card. Take a look at my screen really quick. All you need to do to get rid of it, drag it down here and throw it in the trash. And it's going to ask apply layer mask, say delete. So everything's going to come back. Okay, and I'll show you guys that one more time. So again, in our Photoshopping for Gold, we're going to take our layer mask, you just click on it and drag it down to the trash. And instead of applying, I'm going to delete it. So here's another thing. If you ended up doing something incorrectly, you could always go back here in your history if you needed to undo some stuff. Okay. It's totally fine if you have streaks of color because you may have been brushing on the layer instead of the layer mask. So sometimes that happens when we first start working in these projects. But what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you guys probably the quickest selection tool, and then we're going to do a quick mask. So come over here and hit W for me. So in Photoshop, hit W. And do you see how it takes you to the fourth one down? Now, by default, mine went to this paintbrush, or it looks like a paintbrush. Did any of you guys go to the magic wand? Okay. Just to let you know, when you guys go through the Chuck's exercise, you'll right-click to go back and forth between these. One more favor while we're in here, type in L for lasso. Do you see how it grabbed the lasso up here? There's more than one. Tell me again the trick to show the others. Yeah, right click on it and then you can see all of those here too. But for now, again, I want to use the magic wand tool, or sorry, the quick selection tool. Remember, some of these work better than others. This next part is kind of like painting. So what I want you guys to do is to take your cursor and just try to drag it around this Lego brick. Again, it's not going to be perfect. We're going to try several of them. But do you see how eventually it got some of my brick? And I can come back and keep clicking to try and add more. Okay, but this little dashed line, I like to call those ants marching. It is not a professional term. Nobody at Adobe will ever know what you're talking about, but that's what they look like to me. That's what I call them. But this dashed line indicates that that is your selection. No matter what you have selected right now, hit Control D and that deselects it. So Control plus D at the same time is deselection. These first couple weeks, few weeks, you will go crazy. I go crazy because what happens, you will accidentally select one pixel. And the rule in Photoshop is if you have something selected, that's the only thing you can work on. What I mean by that, do you see how I have my Lego brick selected? If I hit B for brush, let me make it black. Do you see how big my strokes are? It's not going to go anywhere but in that selection. And so, if you're trying to do anything, paint, transform, if you have even one pixel selected, that's not where you want to work, it won't work.
Can you do that again?
Yeah, so I'm going to do Control D. Let me go back quite a bit. I don't want to brush on it. So, coming back over here, I was at my W wand, right? And I selected this area right here. Okay, did you want me to brush on it too?
No, it's fine.
Okay, and then B for brush again. But even if it's one pixel, it's the only place that'll let you work. So every once in a while, I like to tell people if something's not working, hit Control D, because maybe you have something selected and you've forgotten about it. Okay? So the two keys that kind of help us out of trouble, the first one is escape. What's the other one that I just told you about? Control D for deselection. Just keep that in mind.
We selected all with the magic wand.
So what you do is it's kind of like a paintbrush. You just keep going back and kind of brushing on top of it. So I'm going to do Control D again, and you can listen to my mouse. I know it sounds silly. So I click, drag, okay. And then if I miss anything, see how I missed right here? I just click and drag again. It'll keep adding to it. If you
You have like plus and minus on top of your screen, but it's not
So we're not going to get to those yet. We're just working with the defaults. But eventually, so there's even keyboard shortcuts. So I rarely use those. I will teach you guys the keyboard shortcuts. But for now, stick with those. So quick question, does everybody have part of their brick selected? Or a brick selected? As soon as you have a brick selected, take a look at my screen. I don't want to see the others. I only want to see that one. Remember my masking tool or my masking shortcut here? I click on that and see how it masks it automatically for me? Sure. So Control Z. Take a look at my layers. I only have layer 1, no mask, right? This is what's selected. I click the mask. So I'm going to hang out here for just a minute. Add layer mask. Click. And it gets rid of everything. It doesn't get rid of, we're not destroying pixels, but it isolates my mask to this brick. Let me hit the slash key. Do you guys see what I missed? I see what I missed. So now I can come back and kind of fine tune it. I can use the wand, but what color does this need to be painted on my mask? Let me go, so if I do, does white bring stuff back? Yeah. So we're going to go to brush. I'm going to hit X to make it white, and it brings it back in for me. Okay. So really, I just used the brush as a touch-up tool, like I just did. The way that we just did it when we did like our little scratcher card digging for gold, I wouldn't ever try to isolate objects that way. But these selection methods is what I would use most of the time, okay? So let's do this. Let's hop back into our Chuck's Photoshop file. And this one's gonna be a little trickier because if I zoom into this, Photoshop is going to have a hard time recognizing the difference between a white background and a white shoelace, right? A white tip of a toe, the white of the bottom of the toe. So everybody listen up. I know that it's late at night, but I want you guys to know where we're going with this exercise. The reason why it's important that you guys feel comfortable with this is because this is essentially the exact same assignment that you guys will be doing when you go home tonight, just with different images, okay? So the first thing that I want you guys to do is to isolate your layers so that only one is visible at a time. So you don't have all of them on. That might confuse you because you might think you haven't isolated something, but you have, but just the thing that's underneath it is on, okay? So first step, isolate the other layers. Now what we're going to do, I don't want you to spend too much time on this for this first one. I just want you guys to get a feel of how the different selection methods work. So for example, this first one, W quick selection, I hit W. There's my quick selection. It's not the magic wand, it is actually the quick selection. I want you guys to go around the toe, the shoelace, try to do your best to isolate that shoe. Okay? If you don't like what you've done, go into your history, undo it, deselect it, and do it one more time.
Is the white part of the picture, or?
Right now we're taking the white out so we can make the shoe kind of float on its own. So right now, yes, the white is, but I'm trying to get rid of it. Take a look at my screen really quick. Once you think you have it isolated, hit that layer mask and just kind of take a look at how that shoe turned out. Okay. Keep looking at my screen. When you think you're done with that one, turn it off, move on to the next one. Okay, so go through that list. Is that clear what you guys are doing? All of the shortcuts are listed here, and they're all within a right click. What I'm really looking for right now is I want to get an idea of your first impression of each one of these. So I'm going to pause the lecture and let you guys work for a bit. Okay, if you guys don't mind, what I'm going to do is start running through all of them too. Just so you guys can see maybe how I used it versus how you used it. And right now in this semester, there's really not a right or wrong way to use these. You're kind of just finding what works best for you. So I'm hopping into a wand. I'm using the magic wand tool this time, and everything's straight out of the box. So I'm just gonna come and try to grab different areas. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Shift. Let's see what I've got with this one. Yep, nailed it. Okay, but again, I'm just kind of exploring. I kind of did the opposite of what I wanted to do with that one. I'm going to go to the lasso tool now. So this is just the lasso. In my experience, this one kind of drives me crazy, only because I have a really hard time holding down the cursor this long. This is kind of like that signature that you do at the credit card machine. It's just too hard for me to hold it down this long. Okay. The magnetic lasso. Some people love it, some people hate it. Everybody try the magnetic lasso so far? Yes? How many of you guys loved it? Or liked it? Like? Okay. You found it tall. How many of you guys just know?
I think the wood selection is the best.
I really do like I'm a fan of the quick selection. When that came out, I just, for me, okay, I'm going to tell you guys some opinions other people have. My husband loves the magnetic lasso, more so than the quick selection, but I think it's because he's old and didn't grow up with quick selection.
Is he an architect?
He is.
Or he works with straight lines?
Maybe that's it. So I was going to say my favorite, more so than the okay, it's a tie. Quick selection and polygonal lasso are my favorite because I like to just be able to go around and click around it quickly without it trying to veer off. So those are my favorites. You guys will have plenty of time to practice to find out which one you guys think give you the best results. Because remember, we don't want our work to look photoshopped. And the more help that Photoshop can give us, the better. So whatever tool out of this toolbox that works best for you. And again, I'm a little bit old school. I love the poly lasso because I just make these tiny little clicks all around it. And I think it ends up looking pretty clean by the time I'm done. And maybe it's just because I'm so used to working in AutoCAD, so I'm used to clicking and dragging lines. But if I have a really tricky shape that the quick selection tool cannot figure out the geometry of, it just can't find the edges, this is the one that I typically find myself using. Whoops. Okay, with any one of these, similar to magnetic, I'm hitting the backspace key. Every time I hit backspace, it essentially erases a point or a click that I place down. And I'm going to get really sloppy down here just to wrap it up. I'm going to have carpal tunnel in about 15 minutes. So just so you know, the way that I ended that one, you either click on your starting point, which is sometimes really hard to find, or you can hit enter. Either one of those should allow you to close it. What did I do? Okay, so there's that one there.
You added one more layer.
I did. I accidentally added another mask on top of that one. I was on the wrong layer as I was, so I had one visible, but I had the wrong one selected. If this exercise seems straightforward to you, what I want to do is explain the next part of the exercise. You guys have one more step to do now. So this was our first one. It was called Chuck's PSD. Save this file because you'll be turning it in for credit at the end of class or whenever you get done with this. So there are 3 more images here, and let me just go to the class and show you what they look like. I'm sorry. This one's not that bad, and this one should be super easy. I want you guys to isolate each one of these chairs using those same selection methods. This one, though, you don't have to use all 5 that we did. This one is going to definitely by far be the most difficult one, because the reason why this one's so hard is we have these white gaps and then we also have these highlights. And so Photoshop has a hard time deciphering what a gap is and what a highlight is. So a lot of this will be kind of in your hands to fix up. But what I'm asking you guys to do, let me use this one as an example. So tell me if this is clear. Open this up in Photoshop, okay? And then after you have opened it up in Photoshop, what I want you to do is start masking it and isolating it, okay? But before you start working, duplicate the layer, I think it's 5 times, and rename each one of the layers the selection tool that you're using. Does that make sense? So essentially, by the time you're done, see how Chuck's has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers? with each one of the selection tools. The Spark chair, when you open it up in Photoshop, I missed a crucial step. I haven't shown you guys how to duplicate your layers, have I? I've shown you how to move them around, but not duplicate them. So how about no matter where you are, open up the Spark Series JPEG with me. Meet me here, and I'm going to show you guys how to get this started. And then you can do the rest of them on your own part of this exercise. Right now the background is locked, so we can't really do anything with it. Just click on the lock and that'll unlock it for you. You might have to click on it twice. Once activates the layer, the second one actually unlocks it. Okay, right now this is called layer 0. I want to change the name of layer 0 to something else. Let me make this bigger. I'll keep this up so you guys can see it. We're first going to name it W Quick Selection. Okay? W Quick Selection. After you've renamed it, or even before, it doesn't matter. There's a couple different ways of duplicating a layer, but I think the easiest way of duplicating an existing layer, it's similar to how we threw another layer away, but this time we're going to drag it down to this new layer icon. So this little piece of paper here with its corner folded up is the layer creator. So if I just clicked on this blank layer, or again, if you grab one of these and drag it down, it duplicates it for you. The other thing that you can do, you can right click, duplicate layer. Either one of those works. So if you are more comfortable using the graphic method by the drag and drop, you can do it that way, or again, right click, duplicate layer.
So you want to do the different rules we duplicate them?
Yeah. Exactly, yep. So you're going to duplicate it 5 times, and then I will come back over here and leave this up, rename each one of the layers what I have here, and then go through and try to isolate these objects using those same selection tools. So on our list, you guys have 3 chairs to do, plus one of your choice. So if you look here in the grading rubric, you're going to get 5 points for the shoes that we just did together, 5 points for the brewer chair, 5 points for Spark, and then an image of your choice. And then I forgot to add, so for this one, oh, I was being really nice. I guess I put this one here for extra credit. I can't change it now. So do you see how it's worth 0 points here? That means that if you end up doing it, I'll give you guys 5 points just for trying it, so you can get some extra credit there. So, and on that one, again, you only have to do 1, but here's the thing, I'm actually not going to give you 5 points. I will give you 5 points if it's essentially done really professionally. You've spent a lot of, maybe you didn't have to spend a lot of time, but make sure it looks nice. Okay, so earn your points there. I'll give you points depending on how well you've done it. Any questions on the assignment, what you're turning in and how I'm grading it? You guys feel okay about it? Okay, so you guys have about an hour of lab time to finish those up. And again, your homework assignment is pretty much this exact same thing. I hadn't unlocked it yet because I like to move at your pace. So if we didn't get through all this, I would have taken some stuff off. But I feel really good about how far we've got, so I'm going to go ahead and publish the assignment too. So this time you're doing a Volkswagen Bug, a couple Barcelona chairs, and then 1 image of your choice. Yeah, so, and we don't have class on Monday, so don't come Monday, it's Labor Day, but it'll be due a week from today on Wednesday. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and stop lecturing now. I'll post this YouTube lecture, but before I do, I'm going to do a quick recap of everything because that was so much in an hour and 15 minutes. So Are you guys comfortable with your layer manager? Do you know how to duplicate layers? What's the graphic way? You drag it and drop it on an image that looks like what?
Oh, like the paper.
Yeah, a piece of paper with the corner folded up. Good. In your layer manager, if something is on top, is it in the back or front of your image? Front, good. Yep, top, front. Coming back over here, with your masking, what color makes something invisible? Black. In your paint, down at the bottom, how do you toggle between black and white? X, good. If you're not sure if you've masked something correctly, what key can you hit to reveal your mask? Close. The slash. Yep, so the slash shows the red. Control D deselects. Good. So, Rick, you had a crazy shoe selection, right? It kept going to the side. So you can hit Control D to deselect that and start over again. Talking about masks, let's go back to Lego Brick. In your layer manager, I'm kind of voguing up here, you had the layer that showed the Lego brick, and you had your mask. How do you know you're working on your mask? Yeah, super subtle, this white rectangular outline. You have to be clicked on that. If you aren't clicked on that and you start painting black to mask it, where are you actually painting? You're painting on your Lego bricks or on your layer, right? Do we want to be painting on our actual layers? We don't. We want to just be painting on our layer masks right now, okay? If you make a mistake and you need to go back, what panel do we go to?
History.
History. And Bronson, right? What does it look like?
It's the one right by the color palette.
Yep, it's this one right here. So essentially what it's doing is it's showing you a box at the bottom. It's got 3 boxes above it. That's your history. So it's saying you want to go back, bump, bump. That's what that's trying to show you. So if you click on that, you can go back pretty far. You can't go back all the way. Eventually it'll run out. But if I click on Chuck's PSD, it just knows erase everything I've done and go back to the original. And just know that once you go back to a certain point and then start working again, once you go back to a certain point and start working again, you can't go forward again. Does that make sense? Like you can't bring back what you've done. So just be careful with that. Okay, I taught you guys a couple new buttons today. Shout out some of the selection tools. I haven't written them up here. So Control D is a deselection. Good. B is brush. What else do we have for selection tools? L is lasso. If you want to see more than one lasso, what do you guys do? Good. Right click. We've got lasso, polygonal lasso, and magnetic. In any one of these, but specifically magnetic lasso and poly, how do you guys back up points? Backspace. Yep, hit the backspace key and it'll let you back up. Good. What is our other selection tool that we went over tonight? We had L for lasso. What are the other 2? W. Good. We've got the magic wand. Did anybody like the magic wand? It's not magic yet, but it will be. It's really good at finding specific colors. So in the future, we're going to tell it to find specific colors for us. Tonight it was useless. The other one is the quick selection. Shout it out really quick. What was your favorite? Quick? Quick? Anybody? Lasso? Which one? Magnetic. Okay. You've got some old school people here. I like it. You like the polygon? Yeah, that was the one I like. And again, the reason why we're showing you all of these tools so you can find what works best for you. But since we're in the beginning, I want you to keep trying and trying until you get comfortable. And again, for those of you with toys at home, bring them, try them at home, and we will be working on this maybe one more class, or we might skip ahead. We'll see how things go. But this class, we typically do over 2 classes. So you guys have done really well tonight. So we'll just see how things go when you get back. I'll kind of look through your homework and see how clean things are. But this tonight, masking, is really the foundation of our class. Get comfortable with doing all of these methods. get comfortable with completely messing up and figuring out how to get back on track. So I'm not worried about you guys messing up, but I am worried if you guys get stuck. Control D, history, any one of those things to help you guys get back on track, okay? Great. So that was